Okay. And by the magic of technology, yes, Mick and Andre, we're back.
Hey, there you are, Mick. I'm surprised things are still working. This is good news.
Yeah, well, because we've upgraded. We've got a production assistant who's working, feverishly away in the background, helping us with the show. So I don't know whether it will look any more polished, but certainly.
Mick, unfortunately, I have to report she's on a break at the moment.
Ah. So no problem. We've got it all covered. We got all eventualities covered here.
There you are. Well, hopefully we can get the coordinate the timing of our breaks with the timing of the show, so that the production manager can actually produce something.
Right.
But yeah. So hey, what's in store today?
Oh well, but it's. Well, first of all, I did have my hair done for the show, right? So I've had my hair cut. You can see that. You like that?
Oh, Mick, okay, we're ecstatic about that, all right?
All right. So what are we going to talk about? Okay. Well, we're flooring by the numbers, and our three principles of how we help businesses. Businesses need to do three things. Number one, they need to be able to make money. Number two, they need to be generating predictable cash, healthy cash flow. And number three, they need to build systems that actually generate long-term wealth. And what we're going to be talking about today mostly is about the first one, how we can help you make more money. And we want to give you some real practical examples that you can use. So hopefully you can take some of the ideas that we've talked about this week and apply them to your business. So yeah, that's the topic, is making more money through the red light, green light process, Andre. That's what we've got in store for today.
Red light, green light process. I mean, Mick, just on that, the problem with, here's the thing, Mick. When you look at something like red light, green lights, who does this not work for?
Oh, yes, of course. We apologize to our colorblind viewers.
So, hell, sometimes I don't even know whether I'm colorblind or not, but the whole idea is that it's just really a way for us to identify, at the end of the day, how we get to opportunity, Mick. You know what I mean? And once we have identified opportunity, what we find with most, I would say nearly everybody, when opportunity is put in front of us, we normally go for it. You know what I mean? Especially if there's something that's really meaty around that opportunity, right? And we love having those sort of unique techniques that can say, okay, instead of looking at the massive stuff, how do we get to that very specific area that we're going to improve in the business? And then we put a little focus on that, and we make stuff happen. So this is really going to be sort of a fairly significant portion of our shows and how we do that. And hopefully we can even have slides, hey Mick, and we can even show. I mean, we can confuse everybody completely with massive amount of numbers.
Yeah. So you're going to see a little difference between the types of slides that we show. So there are my slides, and then there are Andre slides, and so you'll get to know pretty quick as you're watching the show, whose slides which. Well, we won't even have to tell you.
Yeah, thanks for that. All right, okay.
But I love your slides. I do.
You do, right? You hate them.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I heard this expression the other day, and I wanted to use it here. So Andre's talking about how do we illuminate the opportunity, and you're all clever people. If you've shown an opportunity, you're going to go after it. But the challenge is we get a little bit, too busy. Sometimes, it's hard to see. And I like the expression, losers have goals. So think about that a minute. Everybody has goals, right? But losers only have goals. Winners have systems. You know, we talked about the third thing is that you make money, generate cash, build systems to generate wealth. The really good people have systems.
How do we define this generate wealth thing? What's our definition around that?
Well, you have a good definition. I like it. Go on. I know,
I
you're
really
pregnant
do.
with that. Let's go. Let's go with your.
So really, the whole philosophy around the way that we create systemized things so that it can be scalable, and that's really so being management does less so others can do more. And really what we mean by less is work in the business less and work more on the business. And I know that that's so cliche, but it's so important that there is this ongoing focus of working on the business. How do we improve? What is the key strategies that we're going for? How do we really ensure that we are always winning? And we really see that missing a little bit in this industry. So that's our way of looking at how you see your business from a basis of continuous improvement.
And I see, hey Andre, I know Cliff Thomas. He's a business owner, very successful guy. Are we responding to comments? Yes, but we may be a little irreverent, Cliff. So
well, yeah, because the production manager's on bloody on a break.
Just put your questions in the comment. We love the interaction, Cliff. Glad that you're here live with us today. Beautiful. I'll keep watching the comment stream. If you've got some comments, let us know. So yeah, the wealth, and I know let's see which. Oh yeah, this was. Let me get rid of that so you can see it a little better. So what we see in business is we know in this type of business, there's tons and tons of treasure. And all we're trying to do, all that treasure is guarded by dragons. And one of the biggest dragons is confusion, lots of things hitting at us. So what we're trying to give you is a way to spotlight where that opportunity is. And when we do that, we know that you're going to go and mine that treasure and deliver it within the business. And Andre's the clever one in our team. And he's come up.
Mick, if I'm the clever one, then we both got a big problem, don't we? Hey, all right. So that is what it's about. I mean, and Mick, I talking about that, one of the things that we very much believe in is that your work in progress schedule is a critical component of good management, and how because really that's the how we convert our work in progress into completed work and take those projects and drive the margins inside those projects is really a very important part of what we do, and that is really housed all within our work in progress. And Mick, the other thing about this is every job is what?
A business.
Yeah, you are. I mean, gee, that sounded scripted to me. You know what I mean? But anyway,
well, I've listened to you so many times I could recite it. Every job has revenue, every job has costs, right? And every job has cash. So it's a business in of itself. And I know what you're going to say is if you manage all those little micro businesses, ultimately the overall business performs at a higher level.
Yeah, and it's just it's a nice way for when we communicate with our people and they start thinking about every job being a business, right? And and then of course you have a manager around that job, and that manager is to make sure that job cash flows well, to make sure that job generates the profit that it should generate. And that it's managed efficiently so that we can deliver on the next one, right? Okay, so that is in principle what we try and do, because hey Mick, how many times have we heard the expression? I've lost it on this job, but what am I going to do? I'm going to go make it on. I'll go make the money on the next one. Hey, I mean, it's just and no, that's completely what we don't want to hear. It means that
Zig Ziglar, the great positive thinker or psychologist, trainer, he said, you know what, he'd call that stinking thinking. Make money on every job. Don't lose money on a job thinking you're going to gain it on the next. Apply the disciplines to each one. Every job's a business, and overall the business will improve.
Right, and the philosophy of every job's a business is suddenly you think about it that well, first of all, hang on, before we even go down that road, you look at some of the jobs that our clients do. I mean, there's $1 million plus jobs, sometimes $5 million plus jobs, right? I mean, those are real businesses. Okay, and those are the things that the way that you manage those can change your income statement completely, Mick. And this is really important that we want to bring that sort of philosophy into the way that you look at your total business. Every job is a business. So
and look, when we work with flooring companies and owners, this is one of the principles that we put in place. And this red light, green light system really you can deliver significant additional profit to your business. We regularly help our clients achieve at least $1 million or more in profit, for companies of the size that you're watching here today. So hopefully you'll be able to glean something from this today and, apply it to your business. So are you ready to share your slide, Andre?
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk. I've got this sense of just pure nervousness, right? But you know what, Mick? I mean, one of the things that happens in every business, right, is at some point there is some kind of work in progress review, right?
Right.
Okay. And I mean, how many times have we witnessed this? All right. Well, next on the agenda is our work in progress, and then there's the silence, and you just see a couple of guys put on their crash helmets, a couple of guys go to sleep, a couple of people do whatever the case is. They take a what are those calming pills called?
Xanax.
Xanax. There you are. They go to the Xanax cookie jar, right?
Yeah, you're not on that. You're definitely not on the calming pills.
Hey, it's called coffee, mate. But so you get all these sort of various people going, doing all their gig when it comes to the work in progress review, because Mick, I think let's pull up our work in progress. It's really, this is just, man. And I know when people look at this, they're like, whoa, numbers, but seriously, this is normally, if you think about it, most organizations, when they do a work in progress review, either they've got their work in progress report printed on them, or they've got it on the screen, or whatever the case may be. And, it's just job after job after job after job, and lots of numbers and lots of things. And then all of a sudden, while we're doing this review, we got to, get something out of it. And how many times have we walked out of a work in progress review and there's absolutely nothing comes out of it? Zero. We've spoken about a couple of jobs that have gone bad, and, everybody goes for the Xanax, cookie jar again. And then it's all okay. You know what I mean? And then at the next meeting, the same thing goes all over again. This job, and we speak about the ones that are bad, and it really never becomes like tangible and productive. And what we're wanting to do is to say, okay, well, hey, if you're going to have a review, right, get something out of it. Find something that is going to help us.
All right, Andre, show us the money. Show us the money in these numbers here.
All right. So just, basically, I know everybody's, it's a typical work in progress schedule. I've tried to cut out as much as I can, but, we got a contract, we've got the change orders, we've got, the revised contract amount. We've got the amount of money that we've, so far earned because of our percentage completion, right? And driven by our cost to date compared to our budget. And of course, hopefully, and this is an important one, because, today, I would have believed that nobody would not have this, but yet we are still finding to this day that there is no good discipline around the budgeted margin. All right. So in other words, when we talk about the budgeted margin, that is the margin that is really the expectation. What do we expect each individual job to come in? So of course that's got to be, that's got to be a beacon. And hopefully, the idea is that every job at least meets that beacon or slightly improves. Okay. And what we wanting to understand is the more variation that we're having from one job to the next, that tells us a little bit about, remember those three things, the systems that we have. So the greater the variation from one job to the next, of course, there is dysfunction. Lots of variation automatically means lots of dysfunction. So we are trying to establish
So we also got a question from Jay. What software do we typically see to use to generate the WIP report?
Yeah, Jay, we're going to talk about software. Jay, I tell you what, at the end of the day, the best way to do your work in progress is, with the good old Excel spreadsheet. I mean, that is, unfortunately, we don't have, and we can't recommend any software that does this well. I've not seen it yet. So where you can just go in and say, hey, give me a WIP report that is understandable and that is usable. I'm saying that you've got to have a good process that translates your information into an Excel system that is consistently deployed for your work in progress. So yeah, I wish I could help you on that one. I can't. Hey, if there's anybody that can write a damn good work in progress software, I promise you now, yeah, there's an opportunity for you, no doubt about it. All right, so we have our
question, Jay. Yeah, keep them coming. Got to keep Andre on his toes.
So we've got our actual margins that we are achieving at the moment based on our percentage completion, and of course we've got our budgeted margins, and then most importantly that I really want to see in every work in progress report, what is the variance, right, between the budget and the actual. And guys, here's the thing that I see a lot of people do badly, all right, is that the variance must be based on the percentage completion. So you need to have inside your work in progress your budgeted percentage completion. So that variance is driven based on the percentage completion that you have for every job. And then, okay, now let's go to the process around this. So normally what happens is, we look at each job and we say, okay, here is job number 715, and we've got a little positive variance on that job. Very good, nice, like that. So we move on to the next one. Okay, there's a bit of a variance there, and then all of a sudden we see a small variation. And well, it's only $472. We're not going to worry about that. And then all of a sudden, we start seeing some bigger variations towards, some point in our work in progress. But Mick, look what's happening is while we're doing this, right, it's very difficult for us to be able to determine in a work in progress report like this, where is it that we're doing well, and
right,
where is it that we're not, and that's really the difficulty, because the problem is you can't have a work in progress that doesn't show every job, and most of us have multiple jobs inside our work in progress, which brings me to another point. Number one, how many of us have jobs in here that should be completed, but for some reason we just keep them there and keep them there and keep them there. And, so that completion process is also really important, but that's for another day. Anyway, so now while we're looking at our work, we're seeing a whole lot of positive variations and we're seeing some negative variations, right? Okay. So, at the end of the day, we say to ourselves, before I get my knickers in a knot. Now, Mick, do you agree that by looking at this work in progress here, you are going to get your damn knickers in a knot. Now, look, you absolutely have to agree.
I think hey, you're from Australia and I'm from the UK. I'm not sure knickers in a knot translates. I think would it be pants? I don't know. Do they use knickers? Knickers are underwear. Anyway, sorry, I digress.
Now, all I know is, so you've got to go and screw up the whole bloody thing. I thank you for that. All right, okay. But I mean, you think
we
about
we didn't do knickers in the warm-up, mate. You just introduced that. You floored me.
Okay, well, our warm-up was 3 seconds because we were busy looking for the production manager. So okay, the whole thing is, knickers in a knot. Mick, I tell you what, whoever, please, can you go and identify the bloke that because it was a bloke, it had to have been a bloke, right? Okay, who came up with that expression, knickers in a knot. Because I want to send them a Christmas card. I mean, that is the most beautiful expression I've ever heard. So, because once you've gone through that whole emotion of the knickers and knot, eventually what you do is you go to the bottom of your work in progress and, oh, geez, more negative numbers. I don't want to look at that anymore. And we go right down to the bottom of the work in progress. And, to our delight, what do we see, right? Our total variation is positive. So
that's good, right?
Isn't that is
good? We made more money than we budgeted.
Yeah, isn't that great? I mean, that's a fantastic thing for us. And
must be one of our clients. Must be one of our clients, Andre.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that whole degree of confidence and well-being. You know what I mean? What do you always use? That stupid bloody expression you use, and you warm the cockles of my heart, or some crazy bloody thing that you. I mean, I've never heard of anything such.
But to be fair to your opening point, Andre, when we look at it in total like this, we lose sight of every job is a business. So we feel comfortable that we've made this positive, and we think we've got a great, execution job management machine, don't we? Because we're improving our margins, but that doesn't tell us that there's more opportunity to be mined here. So how do we get that, Andre?
Mick, I mean, why can't we just have a little bit of fun first? So you've got to say, well, why are we? Okay, well, it's like everything. Give me the answer. Give me the answer. Just give me the answer. Give me the answer. You know what I mean? And there's no fun in that. You've got to go through the emotions before you can get to the answer.
Hey, my knickers are twisted. I'm looking for some relief here.
Okay, well, but you see what happens is we've gone through this whole range of all of our jobs. We get to the end of the story, and it's so much easier just to look at the end total. Well, as long as that end total is good, what are we saying to ourselves? In the main, on average, and this is the problem on average, right? Exactly like you said, let's forget about the whole concept of every job's a business. Let's just say, on average, we good. But here's the reality, Mick, and I'm going to go straight into the summary, and then we're going to talk a lot about, do you think we should talk a lot about anything?
That's your default option, Andre, talking, so we're good with that.
Okay, so all I'm saying is, before we just move away from the sea of numbers, let's just go first to a summary.
Oh,
all right. So this
is the kind of slide that I like, Andre. I can actually So for those of you watching today, we call our business Flooring by the Numbers, and Andre is the genius behind the flooring part and the numbers. I'm just a buy the person. So I like this slide. It's nice and simple. I can understand it. Red, green, and gray. What does that mean?
There's an oxymoron. I mean, can you believe that you've just said that? I can understand this slide. I mean, you've just stated I can understand this slide. That's what you said. And then you tell me, what does this mean?
I think red's bad, right? Red's bad. Looks bad to me.
Okay, there you are.
Tell me otherwise.
Okay, there you are. So, guys, here's the thing. If you think about it, there's the red, starting again. There's the $178,000. But if we had to segment the $178,000 now in a slightly different view of the reds versus the greens, right? So red lights actually amounted to the variance between the budgeted profit and the actual profit on each of those 29 jobs, right, amounted to a total of $384,000 negative. So we had a group of jobs, which we're now going to call this group red lights, right? Okay, and we can see automatically that yes, in total we were up 178. The reason why we were up is because we had 35 jobs that were actually better than our budget. So the real improvement, this number at the bottom, effectively should be how much, Mick? 563. If we are in absolute excellence, and there were no red lights, that number would have been 563. Yet in our previous review, we were very happy with 178. We thought that was okay. That was acceptable. And suddenly, when we see our work in progress in this light, suddenly we see a very different thing. Now, Mick, let's talk about opportunity.
Well, and we do this exercise every time we work with a new client, and it really is sometimes quite astonishing to them to see that there is this level of opportunity that exists. And our proposition is, if you put a little bit more discipline around your jobs, right, we can get a significant proportion of that back, usually over 50%, sometimes 75% of it or more, which materially can change your overall profitability and ultimately operating profit. So big opportunity. People typically don't think of it that way. And so, yeah, so the red light is actually good news in a way, because that's where we need to mine for the treasure.
Yeah, I mean, Nick, you really, taking that sort of concept to the, every dollar that we improve in this red light space, as long as we keep our green light performance the same, goes straight to our bottom line. There's no cost. There's no additional cost that really hits that. It's just a discipline. So, and often, I mean, these numbers are relatively small, but, often these numbers become quite big over time. And when we have that discipline, that culturally, so this is the thing, we've got to be able to talk about culture as well, Nick. Now, right. I've got something very important to tell you, right? Okay, because, apparently, this show, when you told me you're going to do this show, all right, and I mean, I was very hesitant because I normally don't have much to say, and you said, look,
Andre, can I just check? Cliff lost audio. I know thanks Grady for stepping in and trying to help Cliff it out. Grady, can you hear me? Can you just give me a thumbs up there in the comments that you can hear us? The audio is good on our end.
Yeah, my audio seems to be working all right.
Yeah, I think, or Jay, if you could indicate whether you're hearing us fine.
I think there's a conspiracy going. The government's busy listening into our bloody program. Can you believe it?
All right. Make sure that they can hear us. Okay. Yeah, we're good with audio, Cliff.
Okay. All right. Okay. So here's the thing, Mick. We've got to talk about culture. Okay. So when I was speaking to one of our very much smaller clients, and we just every now and then have a chat about things, and we eventually came around to the subject of core culture, and what are those core values that we want to implement in our business, right? Now, this is very important, Mick, because you need to listen to this. All right.
I'm going with you, Andre, because I don't know where we're going, but I'm going with you.
So this client said, I like the idea of this, the core values, and I want to implement some core values of my own. And I said to him, look, I'm feeling very good about myself that I've actually made a recommendation that somebody wants to listen to. So, I mean, that's pretty positive. And he said, so I said to him, well, okay, what's the core value that you want to implement? So he said, well, I want to implement the first core value, which is, please reduce the amount of stupid stuff. So he said, I'm going to bring all my people in and I'm going to introduce them to this core value. Please reduce the amount of stupid stuff. So he brings in all his people and he says, from now onwards, we're going to run this business through our core values. And the first thing I want to do is to please reduce the amount of stupidity. And then he said, do you all understand? So are there any questions? So of course, one guy puts up his hand. He says, I got a question. So the guy says, yes, what's your question? He says, how do we do that? Now, I mean, that's really something that that guy's now got a real problem. So how the story ends, I really don't know. But anyway, talking about culture, what we're wanting to do is, the idea of red lights is it's cultural. So eventually inside the organization, hey, Mick, people talk about red lights. Okay. And the first thing that happens, I guarantee you the first thing that happens is that people go down this pathway of changing their budget. And what do you think they do when they change their budget? Right? They increase the cost.
Yeah,
exactly. So they try and gamify what's the word? Gamify. They try and gamify
they try and game the system, is what you're trying to say.
Right. That's the very first thing they do. Okay. So because automatically the first thing that they feel is red lights. I don't want to have red lights on my name. Don't want to have that. So they start changing the budgets. And guys, be careful of that, because the minute you do that, we're starting to lose some of the value that we can bring to the organization. So all I'm trying to explain is around that is, the culture part of this is not that red lights are bad. Of course, they have a negative impact on our ability to make money, but they are really an avenue for us to identify improvement. So that's the first thing. And secondly, the next problem that happens from a cultural viewpoint is suddenly everybody's focus goes on the red light environment, right? And what do you think we forget about?
I wanted to talk about that one because my cup is always half full, right? Not half empty. So I'm always wanting to identify where in green lights there's a mountain of best practice. We got to get that and propagate it throughout the organization.
Bingo. Mick, a lot of times the learning from the green lights can help us improve the red lights. We did certain things here that we possibly didn't do in the red light environment. That's, so the way we manage our green lights is as important as the way we manage our red lights, right? And for us to understand why we achieve this great performance is as important for us to understand how we're going to reduce our red lights.
Right.
Okay, and you see, so often that's that's what the problem is. That's what most people do. The first thing they want to do is they want to go into the solution mode. Okay, and then often what they're doing is they're addressing the symptom, not the problem. And so the next thing is here. What I want to try and illuminate a little bit is about variation, right? So here we have 29 jobs in the red light category. We have 35 jobs in the green light category. So what that tells me is that, I mean, not forget about the maths, but there's a good portion that's in both categories. So therefore, there is no consistency here at all. Do you know what I'm trying to say? If there was one red light and 63 green lights, okay, I can say, all right, that's an anomaly automatically. You know what I mean? So
I see what you're saying. You're saying there's a systemic problem. It's widespread. So we've got to dig. It's not just one isolated incident. It's something to do with the way that we do business, and we need to identify those areas and start to work on those.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a very small population. Normally, people have 300-400 jobs inside their work in progress, maybe even more, depending on what sort of organization it is.
So
right?
we've got very intelligent audience, much more so than us, which is not difficult. And Grady, is echoing the same point that we're saying, that all feedback is good, right? Even if it's a red feedback or a green feedback. It gives us intelligence. Now, is it actionable, and does the management culture and the
look at that! I mean, actionable, isn't that? I love that.
So then we need a mechanism where we review this. We get the feedback, we get the intel, but then we start to do something with it. We start to draw some insight, and we start to take some action. This was the point you were talking about, Andre, about the cultural side of it. We want a can-do implementation culture. If we arm them with good data and good feedback, then how do we translate that into a positive improvement?
Yeah, absolutely. Because the thing is, when people go in and start using red lights as a punitive measure. Now, I mean, that is powerful. Punitive. Hey?
That's a good word for you.
I mean, that is. Look, that took me a while to even figure out how to, you know what I mean. But when we use it as, as a way to say this is bad, we lose that whole ability to identify the root cause. And this is one of my big sort of bugbears, or whatever the word is. But I mean. If people would rather take this and say, okay, let's keep the disciplines around our budget. Let's not go and start changing our budgeting system, and let's identify right now, of these red lights, what are some of the root causes? Because the one thing that happens is we don't want to talk about bad jobs. When I say bad jobs that have gone south. Nobody wants to talk about that. So at the end of the day, normally the answer around bad jobs is there's a story behind that one. And then, well, okay, so if there's a story behind that one, what about the rest of the 28? Do you know what I mean? So is there a story behind each one of those? And normally, yes, there most probably is, but the reality is that there's something that is wrong, right? And Mick, there's only two things that can go wrong in a business. There's only two things that create variation. All right? And what are they?
I know they begin with P, so it's a test.
You're a good man. You're a good man. People and process. So either the person's a bloody screw up, right? Or there's something wrong with the process. Now, our philosophy is that most people try and come to work with the right attitude, okay? So they want to do good, mostly, all right? There's always the exception. But in the main, most people want to try and do good. So normally, at the end of the day, a lot of these issues are because of some process problem. Error was created for some reason. And when we start really identifying the process problem, then we really get to the true improvements. You know what I mean? And and when we really, if we put that investment into our business, I promise you, our numbers start changing. When we start sort of highlighting these things and we use it as a way of positive reinforcement, and culturally, it's not punitive. Culturally, this is great opportunity. We should celebrate the fact that we've identified these things. And then most importantly, what we've got to celebrate is the ability to reduce the amount of, red lights. That's basically what it is. As we reduce the amount of red lights, we start knowing that we are bringing in, sustained improvement. That is what we're looking for, is sustained improvement, not just one-off improvement, but sustained improvement.
Yeah, and we've sat in a lot of these meetings and facilitated it. Quite often what we'll do is we'll rank the red lights and we look at the biggest red light variances. That's a natural tendency, but what Andre is saying here is, even the smallest red light variance, if we can understand the patterns, the root causes, and not just the one-off story of the biggest variation, that leads us to some improvement ideas. It's normally around process and communication, so that we don't get that. So really take a comprehensive view of your red lights and green lights, and that way you can drive. And then the conversation that you drive around that, it's positive red light. What can we learn? What can we do differently? You'll get everybody into the mindset of, how do I identify improvement in the business? Because a lot of times we're so busy that we don't think about improvement. We just think about, I've got to get this done. And this provides a little bit of pause, a little bit of focus to say, okay, what could we do just a little bit differently to change that picture?
Yeah, I mean, that is, that is so important. And Mick, here's the thing. What I like to see is, how much is the additional red light or additional green light every week? So of course we have a starting point, right? That's some kind of baseline. But each job progresses every week. Each job has costs that get incurred every week. So each job has additional earned revenue. How much additional red lights or additional green lights do we have each week? And that starts becoming a trend. You know what I mean? And then we start identifying different things that are happening because of the red lights that have happened this week, and
right. Sorry. Yeah. And we talked about this, pre-show is, once the red light is big and flashing and it's the end of the project, there's not a lot of you can do other than gather learning and insight from that. But that trend analysis allows you to identify what you would call the mini red lights, Andre, that allows us to course correct. So tell us a little bit about how you apply that.
Right. So philosophically, what we're always trying to look for, whatever we do, is the most powerful forward-looking indicator. So where is the most powerful forward-looking indicator, right? Okay. Now, what a lot of people do is they measure their red lights based on total cost. So you only get to identify the red light virtually at the end of the project. Now, that's not a good forward-looking indicator, because by that stage, what can you do about it?
Not a lot.
Pretty much nothing. Right. So you want to get those. You want to try and get those metrics that are going to help you to do things, and actually create an improvement, not just a learning experience, right? So my suggestion is always that you measure your red lights based on your percentage completion from an actual viewpoint, because percentage completion, you have that automatically actual, those that you have. What you often don't have is in the budget is the percentage of completion with regards to the budget. So when you have the percentage completion actual, percentage completion budget, and then for the bigger jobs, what is the true percentage completion on site? That's another beautiful indicator. So if my costs based on my budgeted cost is, 50% complete, am I actually 50% complete on site? So it really can start integrating the philosophy of how we manage the job on site with the numbers that we have in back office. Right. Okay. Now let's talk a little bit about Mick. Let's talk a little bit about what could be some of the root causes for. I mean, these are very obvious, but I think we do need to talk a little bit about them.
Yeah, and I just popped a comment up there. If you go to our website, flooringbythenumbers.com, and you can see benchmark in the top right menu bar. Click on that, and you can download our benchmark report. Not sure whether we've got any. We do have something on change orders in there. I have to remind myself was there. But anyway, download your free report and get some insight on that. So when we talked earlier, Andre, I said, okay, well, we'll do a little bit of education, but we want you guys to be able to walk away and have some things that you can focus on. What are some of the areas, some of the root causes that you could, that cause some of those red light activities? And we came up with really four categories, Andre.
Yeah. I mean, of course, if there's something, if there's something wrong with the estimate, in terms of quantities, okay, there is an issue, right? If there's something wrong with the budgeting itself, the pricing of the job, of course, that could be a driver. And then, of course, there's execution. Did we execute on this job the way that we should have? And then, lastly, there's of the big, which is a really big culprit, is change orders. And one thing I really love about the red lights is that you can use your red lights to make sure that your change orders are processed properly. All right. And because often the reason for the red light is just a change order hasn't been actually entered into the system, right? And this is a great way to just make sure it's that second check to make sure that any change orders that should be in are physically in. So if you think about it, within those four categories, then comes the area. Okay, what is the problem within each one of those areas? If it's not estimating, if it's not pricing, and it's in execution, you've got an execution problem, right? Or if the majority of those, whatever it is, those 29 jobs, if the majority of those 29 jobs are all sitting in execution, you've got an execution problem. And okay, maybe you're going to have to re-engineer that whole process. Maybe it's a people problem within execution. All of those things suddenly start becoming, real, tangible ways of creating improvement and discussion around the table.
And we could do an entire show on change orders, which is, I think that's something that we should do. Let us know in the comments if you'd like an episode on change orders. It's a fascinating subject. But what this whole process does is it gets you to proactively ask the question, have we got everything up to date? Have we processed that change order? And then that then proactively, talks to your team to say, have I positioned this change well with my customer? Have I got the documentation? Has it been approved, and therefore can I bill it? It brings all of that change order management discipline much earlier in the process, which ultimately helps your cash flow and your profitability, because we're not at the end of the project trying to chase some documentation, getting into a negotiation about which change orders should be approved and which shouldn't. And of course, before we get that change order approved, we can't actually bill the job, and so our receivable days go up. So it's a good way of this whole red light, green light of starting to stimulate a proactive discussion and how we can be better much earlier in the project evolution.
Yeah, and Mick, one of the things that, if anybody ever goes down this road, the red light, green light road, one of the things that you may find happening is that that if there's any dysfunction between the way a job is actually budgeted. So, often let's not say often, in most cases, the budget is driven by really the salesperson, okay? Whatever we want to call them, salesperson, project manager, blah, blah, blah.
My peeps. They're my peeps, Andre. I love the salespeople.
Yeah, salespeople. I mean, I love calling them salespeople because it's a great profession in our organization, in our industry, and yeah, etc. Okay, so who really is responsible for the budget? Is it or first of all, for developing the budget? Is it the salesperson or is it operations? And I promise you, do that exercise. Just guys, go and do that exercise. Take a job, one job, and take the budget that was developed by the sales guy, and then go to your operations. Walk around the corner and take that piece of paper, the job folder, right? Okay, take the job folder and go and give it to operations and say, what's the budget for this job? I can tell you now, guaranteed. Operations is going to tell you a hell of a lot lower than what sales is going to tell you, guaranteed. So who really is the or put it this way, where's the source of the budget? Is it in your organization? Is it sales or is it operations? And guys, every now and then on big jobs, have a bit of fun around it. Okay, take the sales budget and the budget that's developed by the sales team, and then give it to operations. But don't give them the sales budget. You tell them, what is the budget for this job? And see the difference of how they, the two environments see each other.
And that's a great. See, this is such a way to overcome silos and identify how you can all help each other, because you just think differently. You just naturally, you're performing different roles, you have different pressures, and you come up with different answers, and you only see your little world. And when you see how people emphasize different things and their position on something that's more difficult, you've underestimated, or we know that it really is very insightful and cements a better relationship between your sales teams and your operational delivery. So good exercise, Andre.
Yeah, and Mick, one of our shows, whenever it comes around, the other thing I really would like to talk about is this category called other cost of goods sold. We've got our materials, right? And we've got our labor, right? And then there's this bucket that's called other. And boy, when you start looking at red lights, green lights, that's often where you start seeing this variation is in this bucket called other. Some people call it general conditions. And, it's the one area we seem to get really good, especially if we've got subcontractors. Our labors should be known, right? Okay. And yet there's variation there. And our materials, hell, this is supposedly a science, and yet there's variation there. And then the big variation is in this bloody bucket called other. Our people love that other bucket, boy. Just chuck it in there, man, and let's figure it out later. But that will be for a discussion for another day.
Okay, well, that was, ladies and gentlemen, red lights and green lights. Please email us if you've got any questions. I'll be happy to talk to you, or the old telephone. We love that, a mechanism for communication.
What telephones are for what, Mick?
Telephones are for conversation, and emails are for confirmation. Right?
Yeah, use the bloody phone, guys, man. Stop this damn email rubbish. Come on, let's get involved with our customers. Let's make shit happen. There you are.
And also, finally, we've got an exciting development coming up. We've Andre and I have put together a membership side offering, which will be launching, which is to give you access to the technologies, the tools, the processes, the techniques that we use to help businesses improve. And we package that in a way that you can now share all that information, with all of your employees. So it's an employee development, leadership development, business improvement portal.
Yeah.
It's our membership site, and that's going to be coming out. It's going to be really, really exciting and a great way for us to go deeper into these subjects, show the improvement methods, give you the tools to actually implement it in your organization, to get those improved results.
Yeah, and the nice part about what I like about our membership site is, it's a lot of that is live. So it's not just, it's just not just static content. It's getting together. It's live, and it's exciting and a beautiful way to get people together and to develop our capabilities. So yeah, guys, get your checkbooks out, every one of you now, quickly, and I'm waiting. All right.
All right. Well, we're coming up right up on the hour. For those of you who are live, thank you for attending the show. For those of you who made comments, thank you for the interaction. We absolutely love that. We're here every Wednesday live. For those of you who's joining us on the replay, if you have any comments or questions, please reach out to Andre or myself, and be sure to be with us live next week, because we're going to be sharing some other amazing improvement ideas that you can take to your business so that you can run your flooring business by the numbers. So goodbye from me.
Hey, all the best, guys. Keep well, man.
Thanks. Bye-bye.